I just wanted to thank you for being a longtime patriot, for supporting President Trump through thick and thin. And I know you were bummed out when the news broke that I wouldn't be the next Attorney General. We did get a great replacement in Pam Bondi. She's going to do an awesome job. You have nothing to worry about. But hey, listen, I'm still going to be in the fight for you and your family. We've got the House, we've got the Senate, we've got Donald Trump in the presidency. We're going to actually fix the problems. We're going to secure the border, clean up our streets, get the economy roaring again. So we've got a lot to be thankful for. Austin loves you very much for sending this video, and I wish you all the best through thick and thin, just like you've been there for me and for President Trump. And I can assure you, as we approach the holiday season, the best is yet to come.
Now, the disgraced former Congressman Matt Gaetz was run out of his nomination to be the next Attorney General over his very shady past. The party may think it'll be just cameo videos and unofficial influence for him, but some members of Congress haven't forgotten.
Directing the Committee on Ethics of the House of Representatives to release to the public the committee's report on its investigation into allegations against former Representative Matt Gaetz. Whereas, on April 9th, 2021, the Committee on Ethics of the House of Representatives announced that it had begun to investigate allegations that Representative Matt Gaetz may have engaged in sexual misconduct and/or illicit drug use, shared inappropriate images or videos on the House floor, misused state identification records, converted campaign funds for personal use, and/or accepted a bribe, improper gratuity, or impermissible gift in violation of the rules of the House, laws, or other standards of conduct. Whereas on November 13th, 2024, Representative Matt Gaetz announced his resignation from Congress. Whereas there is precedent for the Committee on Ethics of the House of Representatives to continue investigating and release reports of investigations into former members of the House of Representatives. Whereas in 1987, the Committee on Ethics of the House of Representatives released a report on its investigation into allegations of the misuse of campaign funds, improper gifts, the failure to reveal business interests on his financial disclosure, and the acceptance of a bribe by former Representative Bill Boner following his resignation from Congress.
Apparently, Congressman Sean Casten's memory isn't as short as Republicans hope most Americans are. Don't forget, Gaetz resigned from Congress just a day or two before the damning investigation on his potentially criminal behavior surrounding his escapades with young women and girls. The hope was that all of it would just go away, simply because he left office. But despite what Mike Johnson said, there's plenty of precedence for the information to be released.
In 1990, the Committee on Ethics of the House of Representatives released a report on its investigations of sexual misconduct allegations, which included having sexual intercourse with a minor and making sexual advances towards a congressional employee against former Representative Don Lukens following his resignation from Congress. Whereas in 2006, the Committee on Ethics of the House of Representatives released a report on its investigation into sexual misconduct allegations, which included sending sexually explicit images to at least one minor against former Representative Mark Foley following his resignation from Congress. Whereas in 2011, the Committee on Ethics of the House of Representatives continued its investigation into allegations of sexual misconduct against former Representative Eric Massa following his resignation. And whereas, given the serious nature of the allegations against Representative Gaetz, a failure of the Committee on Ethics of the House of Representatives to publicly release its report on its investigation undermines the committee's credibility and impedes the safety, dignity, and integrity of the legislative proceedings of the House.
Isn't it telling that this group of Republicans is obviously looking to cover for Matt Gaetz so that he can avoid accountability for his alleged crimes? This is the same party that uses victims of sexual assault and trafficking for political clout during campaign season, but when they have an opportunity to now expose and punish someone that's been legitimately accused of it, they've suddenly gone into protection mode. Representative Casten's commitment to law and order might get him on the same enemies list that Trump is compiling with people like Adam Schiff.
Do you think that report should be made public?
I do think it should be made public. I don't think that when someone decides to avoid the public accountability, they simply leave Congress and make it all go away. The taxpayers paid for that analysis and that report. I think they have a right to see it.
Do you think it will be made public? Do you have any indication?
I don't know. It seems like on a party line basis, Republicans are saying, no, the public has no right to see this. And what's more, we don't want the public to see this. But it underscores to me why the president's lack of background checks for his nominees is flawed.
In case people didn't know, yes, Trump's transition process wasn't taking part in the normal practice of conducting background checks on nominees for a month. And even though they've just agreed with the DOJ to now have them, only so that staffers can gain security clearances prior to his taking office so they can access classified materials, Axios reports that it's not clear if some can still opt out of it. So while his picks have been vetted only by the media, who he told supporters not to trust when bad news is reported, his new AG pick to replace Gaetz has the same agenda that he had.
Something else that's going to happen, Sean, is when Republicans take back the White House, and we will be back in there in 18 months or less, you know what's going to happen? The Department of Justice, the prosecutors will be prosecuted, the bad ones. The investigators will be investigated because the deep state, last term for President Trump, they were hiding in the shadows. But now they have a spotlight on them, and they can all be investigated, and the House needs to be cleaned out because now we know who most of them are. There's a record of it, and we can clean house next term, and that's what has to happen.
It's pretty clear that the only time MAGA turns their back on law enforcement is when it exposes the illegal activities that they're involved in. Trump's rap sheet has his surrogates vowing to turn law enforcement agencies into his own personal revenge unit with no evidence to back up their claims other than empty denials to concrete evidence against him. It's why people like the Speaker of the House are vehemently opposed to Gaetz being exposed. It's pretty telling that this many cover-ups are being carried out before Trump's new administration even takes office.
Is it then your belief that the Justice Department, the law enforcement, federal law enforcement, should Americans have faith in federal law enforcement now? Because it seems that this decision has brought that into question.
I think what it brings it into question are the nominees that Donald Trump has put forward. Matt Gaetz, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard. These are not people who are going to implement the rule of law. They have been picked to weaponize the federal government against Donald Trump's enemies and his adversaries. And that is the risk to the rule of law.
Then it sounds like you're saying yes, that Americans cannot have faith in federal law enforcement as it is implemented by these picks that Trump is making? I mean, is that a fair representation of your opinion on this?
Certainly, I'm not going to put the cart before the horse, but based on the statements that people like Matt Gaetz, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Donald Trump himself have made over the last couple of years, they have been very explicit about their desire to weaponize the Department of Justice for their own political purposes.